And we are live with another broadcast of the Roofing on the Rise studios. We are sponsored by Roofing Supply Incorporated here in the Houston marketplace, where you can get your shingles from me. Call me, telephone number 210-919-8987. Again, 210-919-8987. We're also sponsored by West Group Public Adjusters, where you can get an awesome hand-tailored claims experience. If you're looking to get in contact with West Group, just shoot me a message, shoot me a call. I'll get you in contact with them. Again, that telephone number is 210-919-8987. Today, we have an amazing guest. We have Matthew Danskin. Matthew, what is up? How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on here, man. It's been a long time coming.
Absolutely. I know we've been trying to narrow this down for, some months now.
Right?
I'm excited to be able to have you on. And I think that everyone else is I did the Facebook event, and I've invited a bunch of people. And I mean, in 24 hours, the responses that I've gotten are very, very positive. So I'm excited to be able to have you on and just pick your brain at how you become successful and built a successful brand.
Very cool. Yeah.
Well, man, could you share with us, a little bit about you, who you are, and what you do?
Sure. So there's really a few different companies that I have or I'm a part of. My main gig for the last 4 years has been restoration referral system. So I was a roofing contractor out in Denver, selling roofs, building roofs, doing the whole thing, and got really good at creating referral relationships with insurance agents. And life kind of threw some curveballs at me, and had to move halfway across the country and abandon that network. And fortunately, started having other people reach out to me asking for my help to recreate what I had done there. So that's been kind of my main focus here in the last 6 months. I've been working on Building Experts Institute along with Matt Mulholland, who a lot of people know, and John Tillman, who most people don't know, but he's the guy behind the camera. But those are kind of my main deals.
That is awesome. And the restoration referral system, like, why? I know you were roofing houses, right? What drove you to start working with insurance agents?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. I think there's a lot of kind of misinformation or bad information about that, or people have their own ideas about it. But for me, I was knocking doors in a very competitive market. You understand, being in Houston,
Oh
if you
yeah,
knock that door, there's 50 guys coming behind you, and some of them are going to eat a deductible, give them a big screen TV and a foot rub, right? And so, not that you can't be successful doing that, but there's so much inefficiencies when you lose deals, when you are working and not closing those deals, not getting paid on those deals. And kind of lucked into, I had a friend that was an insurance agent. I was a roofer. He started sending his customers to me. And I recognized that I closed those deals at a higher rate,
yeah.
so that inefficiency goes up, or that efficiency goes up there. But also, he worked for a good carrier. So
Mm,
instead of, most everything I was doing was kind of Russian roulette. I don't know if they've got Allstate or Amica. When I go knock on their door and
right.
tell them I'm already knee deep in it, I can kind of pick and choose. I know certain carriers are going to deny everything the first time around. They're going to make me do a reinspection. They're going to make me, you know, uh, have an act of Congress to get a redact paid for.
Yeah.
All these types of things that eat up my time without necessarily paying me anymore. And oftentimes they're still paying less after you spend that extra time. So once I had recognized it, really for me, it was about a tenfold difference in efficiency. The amount of time put into the amount of money, profit, not revenue, but profit, put in my pocket. I kind of just became obsessed with it, and had to figure it out. And so just spent hundreds and hundreds of meetings with insurance agents, getting my teeth kicked in, figure kind of reverse engineering, figuring out what they were looking for, and ultimately was able to come away with something that was just surgical in its effectiveness.
I like the, I like the way that you shifted to do business, after, you had done business with your agent friend, right? And you've seen how lucrative it was. It brings a smile to my face because I remember working with, realtors and, and it's not exactly the same. They're different spectrums, but they both service massive amounts of homes and
Yep.
homeowners. And so getting those referrals from that person, um, and like you said, closing at a higher rate, you know, I feel like contractors get stuck in this, "Hey, apologize to bother you," and jump into their spiel, and that's not the I don't feel like that's what we were meant to do. I feel like we were meant to foster relationships that build into business. And the reason why I think that is that, as a regular, like, let's say you're a retail business owner, and people come into your business, you'll build up those normies, as you will, or your regular clientele. Um, in roofing, it's not that way. We can't,
Yeah.
build up a normal clientele unless you're dealing with people that you like to deal with, or in any rate, a service type business to business with a different roof every time.
Yeah.
So I I got a big question here. What ignited your passion? Right? Like what inspired you to create the insurance referral system? Um, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so really, I had no intentions of being a trainer or a consultant, and most all that type of stuff that I'd ever invested into in the past, I wasn't too hot on. And so when I was doing this, I was just, I ended up doing. Um, there you go. Apologize to bother you. Yeah. Uh, John's actually coming to my boot camp in December. I'm excited about it and working with
Big
him
shout
on
out,
that.
John. Thank you for tuning in today.
And I had no intentions of getting into training and consulting and that sort of thing. I had uh, I've got four sons. My eldest son was with my first wife, who long story short, decided she wanted to move halfway across the country from Colorado to Tennessee, and so I was kind of forced to either give up time with my son or time with my referral network, and obviously that's a pretty easy decision. And when that happened, I had a lot of friends that were in the industry, and people started reaching out. So 2019, I ended up doing almost 5 million by myself,
Whoa.
uh, and working about 40 hours a week. Yeah, I mean, it
This
was
is in Tennessee or in Denver?
Colorado.
Colorado, okay.
In Colorado, yeah. 2019 was an okay year.
Yeah,
It was better than the following 3 years,
right,
but I was doing 4 to 5 times what I had been doing years prior, doing all the different lead sources. So I started opening up to some of those guys since they weren't going to be competition anymore. And lo and behold, they were like, this is amazing. Like this is, it had changed my life in terms of income and in terms of having control over my time. And and so getting to see those first few people get a taste of that, and having struggled for years just like I had, and then all of a sudden they're unlocked, and now I've got a roadmap. Now I know how to do it. uh, that really is what ignited me. Frankly, I still don't make as much money as I did when I was roofing, and I could probably
right,
go roof right now and make more money than I do consulting.
yeah,
But I've been able to help thousands of people make that change where now they're not, go knock a door, sell a roof, and then once you stop knocking doors, you stop selling roofs, or you
right,
stop funding whatever online thing you're doing or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with those things. It's just they don't keep momentum. If I can build this network, it's just, you're still working, but it's continually flowing into you, so that you can actually build something and grow what you're capable of doing without just working 60, 70, 80, 100 hours, whatever, to try to achieve more.
Yeah,
So
you
that
hit
was
on
really the biggest
network.
thing, was being able to help other people succeed at that thing that I had also struggled with and found success in.
Yeah, you said network, in that, and um, didn't necessarily compare it, but networking with marketing is so essential.
Mm.
And people that disconnect that, and that's my next Facebook post right there. Uh, the people that disconnect those too, right? Um, that's when they have that, hey, I invested X amount of dollars. I'm not getting X amount of leads. It goes hand in hand. If you stop networking and you stop putting out your business in the physical and you do everything in the digital, like the digital's not always gonna work. It's not always gonna be consistent. It's an up and down thing. Building those systems and processes that you're talking about and consulting people to understand how to do that, super important. I think that social impact is extremely important on how you leave this industry, whether you're leaving it better or worse than when you came into it. um, I applaud you for that, right? Like, it takes a lot of humility to step down and say, let me help you. Right? It's different. Um, in what ways do you challenge the status quo and disrupt traditional norms in the roofing industry?
Well, I think, the obviously most of the industry, they are knocking doors as kind of their primary bread and butter.
Right.
And so many people, because they've been successful with that, think that must be the absolute best thing. And fortunately, I've had enough of my customers. We've worked with about 400 companies across the country at this point, that were primarily door knocking, but they took a leap of faith and said, "Hey, maybe we should add this to the mix." And once they build up that network, they realize there's a lot of advantages here. And we may still knock some doors of the neighbors of our builds and all that sort of stuff, pick up some, kind of cherry pick off some low hanging fruit, but you're going to fill your bandwidth with something. And whether that is low paying jobs that require a lot of, eat up a lot of bandwidth because of how inefficient they are, or high paying jobs. And so I think we've challenged some of the norms, just in rethinking, just because the thing that you're doing works doesn't mean that it's the best thing. And and even within referrals from insurance agents, I'm not the first guy to realize that insurance agents are a great referral partner, right? People have
Right.
been doing that since before I was born.
Right.
Meeting with insurance agents, but so much of it, there is this standard of just, let's drop by, let them know, hey, I'll take care of your customers, and here's my card, and here's a
Right.
bowl of candy or a box of donuts. And it's just so, if you look at it for on its face value, I'm offering to swap you a $15 box of donuts for a $15,000 roof, right? Like that. And, it's
Right.
laughable when you look at it that way. But
But we do it.
oh yeah, for sure, and it works.
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes.
yeah, it can. Ultimately, if you're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, yeah, like, it can work, so long as none of my clients are meeting with that semi insurance agent,
Right.
because they'll mop the floor with them. But really, just looking at every business transaction is, how can everybody in this transaction win? How can we set this up? Like, there are ways. You don't have to do anything shady. You don't have to do anything weird or whatever. Just, how can we set it up so that everybody wins? And if you think through whatever situation you're in, you can find a path for that.
Mm. What do you think about daily routine, and how does your daily routine contribute to your success as a business owner?
So my days, kind of the work day, a lot of times look differently from one day to the next, and I like that variety. Um, some days I'll go meet up with a local contractor and we'll do some content. Or some days I'm doing a podcast like this, or I'm working on our websites or our marketing, or we're working on some of the training, continually adding stuff to that. So that stuff has a lot of variety, and I really appreciate that because it just keeps me stimulated. My routine really, uh, I think a lot of people look at me weird, but I wake up at 4 a.m. every single day. A lot of times I don't even need my alarm clock for it. I'm at the gym by 5 o'clock. I am at the gym until about 6:15. And then I come home, I make breakfast with my family. I've got, like I said, I've got a wife and four sons. So I get to have breakfast with them, get my eldest son off to school, and then come back and get my day started. So I think that knowing exactly what my day is going to look like at the beginning gives me time to basically I get a head start on everybody. The time that I'm,
Yeah.
before I go to the gym and while I'm at the gym, my mind is able to work. I'm able to solve through the problems and the issues without, all the phone calls and messages and emails and all sorts of stuff coming at me.
Yeah, that's a very important time for my day too. Getting that workout in and being undistracted from everything else. Um, I feel like it's a crucial part of a lot of successful business owners' lives. Some sort of physical activity and getting it before anyone else does. Um, and that it kind of motivates me because you wake up earlier than I do. And I'm like that. I listen to David Goggins every single day. So it's like, dang, that kind of challenges me. I kind of want to wake up a little bit earlier because what you just described is a little bit different than what I've been doing recently. Right. And even though
Mm.
I wake up, 5 o'clock, I'm still not in the gym by that time, which, yeah, bro, that sounds good. I like that routine, bro. I like that timing. I
Well,
have to
my gym, the gym I go to now doesn't open till 5. So
uh,
uh, I always try to make sure I'm sitting in the parking lot waiting on the doors to open.
I love
Um,
that.
and it's
Nice.
so that's good for me anyway.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I've been fighting on whether or not I wanted to ask you this question, but when you first came out with, the groundbreaking program, of restoration referral, did you get met with any resistance or skepticism at all?
Oh, for sure, and I still do. Not as much now after 4 years.
Mm.
But there's, like I said, there's a lot of misinformation around like getting referrals from insurance agents. A lot of people, they look at it through the lens of like, oh, it's a managed repair program where I'm having to do it for their prices, or I can't advocate for my client, which it's absolutely not. I've done managed repair programs years ago, and I do not recommend it for anyone. I'll leave it at that. There's enough problems with it.
We could talk
But
about that all freaking day.
Sure. And there it doesn't carry those same things. It does carry the fact, hey, I'm going to get referrals and I'm going to get them. They're always from the same carrier and they're going to be slam dunks, but without that deal with the devil of being in the carrier's pet. So I think that's one of the major things. The other thing, I guess, would be the guys that are already successful with insurance agents. A lot of times I get met with resistance where they go, what could you possibly teach me that don't already know? Like what is,
Ooh,
um
that's a toxic
and
way to even think.
it is and it isn't. I mean, I totally understand it. And I've had a ton of clients that are like, that's kind of their mindset. We've got a really good guarantee. So a lot of people have just said, hey, let's go ahead and do it. If I already know all this stuff, I'll get my money back plus some. and I've yet to have somebody disappointed there. The people that are already going in this direction, that are already successful with it, it's just gas on the fire. It's
Mhm.
tweaking some things. It's making some things 10% better. You make five things 10% better, and all of a sudden you're 50% better.
Yeah. Um, through establishing and implementing your program, were there any significant hurdles or challenges you faced, and how did you overcome those?
In terms of just like training, consulting, I started off kind of doing the training for every one of my clients just live. So we would get on like a 2 hour long Zoom call, and I would regurgitate the same, kind of basic program. And then we would, get on following calls and that sort of thing. And which worked for a short amount of time before I was just three 2 hour Zoom calls a day and your brain is fried.
Right.
And you've got no bandwidth for actually like growing the business and doing anything else. And so I literally recorded my first like online training program at night because I was just so busy through the day. So
Yeah.
I was in my garage studio at 2 a.m. recording training videos, and that kind of got me to my next step. And eventually we hired a professional videographer and did it right, as I would say, who's actually the guy who's my partner in BEI now.
Nice. Man, so what how did you feel when you transitioned to going business to business instead of business to client? So
Uh,
B2B instead of B2C.
I've done B2B years ago in the past. I've worked with business owners, and so I like that I'm talking to people that are like me.
Yeah.
When I'm selling to homeowners or whatever, I may be talking to 70-year-old Gertrude, and love Gertrude, and I want to take care of her roof, and that's a nice relationship to be able to talk to somebody that thinks a lot of the same things that I do, that struggles through a lot of the same problems that I do. Um, that's I really enjoy it. We're obviously there's still a spectrum of different type of people in the roofing industry, but there's a lot of commonalities.
So, I guess for other business owners considering or implementing a similar program in the industry, what advice or insights would you offer?
I would say if you're going to do, my program or any program, uh, you want to think through what are you doing right now? What are the inefficiencies? What are the problems with it? And does this program, or does this system, does this lead source, whatever, address those problems? Does it improve on those issues that you have to help you get better, and get buy-in from your team? That's one thing I kind of learned from some of the contractors that I work with. They wouldn't just buy my program and then shove it down their sales team's throat. They would go, "Hey, I'm going to buy this. If I buy it, are you going to use it?" And
Mm,
everybody goes, "Yeah, of course." Because it's not their money. They
right,
still say yes.
right.
But now I can go back to them and say, "Hey, you told me you were going to do that. Hold them accountable." So have a plan in place for um, what you're doing. Don't just go buy whatever shiny thing is out there. Somebody had this great marketing, this great thing, and it may be a good thing, but make sure that you're doing it because it fits your business's plan for growth, and not just you know their ad caught my attention, and I want to do it.
That's solid, dude. That's really solid. Um, how do you foster and culture innovation and creativity within your own organization?
Uh, well, my organization, Restoration Referral System, right now is just myself. So I used to have two employees. I basically scaled down to just myself, and so I would say uh, innovation and creativity and all those types of things come pretty naturally to me. I am constantly thinking. I mean, at
You're a part of
4
other
a.m. I wake
organizations
up.
too. So,
Yeah, and I do. So, uh, like you talked about network,
yeah,
people like yourself, people like Matt Mulholland, people, all over the industry, and frankly, the customers that I work with.
yeah.
I work with some really smart people, and I'm able to lend my expertise in my area, but I learn so much from my clients, and whether it's hearing about a pain point that they have, and now my mind is working of how can we solve that pain point for them, or finding some innovative solution that they have, and kind of piecing things together. So I would say just those repetitions and those interactions from a network are probably the biggest thing.
How do you like working with Matthew Mulholland?
Mostly, I love it. Uh,
He is
he,
so awesome.
uh,
I don't know
he
him
is.
extremely well, but every time I've ever, had an interaction with him, I've never been around him where he did not make me laugh or smile
Yeah,
anytime.
yeah.
It's contagious.
Um, he is. We just released our third course in BEI that Matt teaches, and the when we record those courses, it's usually about 2 days of recording. They are really, really in depth. They're really, really, I won't say long. They're not needlessly long, but they're just so in depth that they have to be fairly long. And we're behind the camera or holding the microphone or whatever, like holding back our laughs so you don't have a laugh track on your training videos. But
I think
yeah,
that was like a good I think that was probably one of the best ideas to do for the industry was a training like what you guys are doing. You just don't find it any other place. And it's not like how you guys are doing it. So I applaud you guys for, the creation of that institute and uh in bringing a different perspective to training, right? Because that's really what I believe that it is.
I appreciate
Uh,
that.
absolutely. So, I gotta ask, right? Because you work with Matthew quite a bit. Did he make that hail gun himself?
Oh yeah,
Okay, I had to know. Like, I didn't like. I thought for sure it was handmade, but I wasn't 100% positive.
yeah.
Matt, we're talking about you, but it's all good. Uh,
Oh yeah. He's got it's the shoot hail into things, and then the lil shoot hail into things. If you look at that acronym, and yeah, so he made both of those out in his garage or whatever, and yeah, he's got a 3D printer. He's a super nerd, and I love to learn, and I love to dig down deep into that stuff. But Matt Mulholland is a super nerd, in every possible way.
I like it though, because without that brain, if you will, I feel like we would be lacking in our industry with a lot of things. Matthew brings a completely different perspective, and really does help open people's minds, as do you. And so, those are awesome, attributable qualities to someone. At least I think so. Um, can you share a notable story, like a success story with us for one of your clients, using the system that you've created?
Sure. So one of my favorite stories here recently is actually a contractor that's pretty close by. They hired I want to say he's 24-year-old guy, typical new roofing sales guy, right?
Right.
And we had a boot camp last December. I've got another one coming up this December, but he went to our one that was last December, and he was, I want to say, 2 or 3 months in. So had just kind of been going through his training, figuring stuff out, which side of the roof is up and all that sort of stuff. And went to our boot camp. And when I do my trainings, it's very hands on. So it's here's the concept. all right, now you're going to practice the concept. Okay, now you're going to do the concept. And we actually call insurance agents and we schedule meetings while we're in the boot camp.
Oh, that's
And so
cool.
the following couple of days or weeks, they're meeting with these insurance agents that they called during the boot camp. Well, this guy, one of the agents that he called at the boot camp was like, "Yeah, come on by." He goes in there, and they are a brokerage here in the Nashville area that deals with a lot of high net worth, a lot of old money.
Mm,
Uh, and they've got in their brokerage, they have 120 insurance agents.
mm,
And so this 24-year-old kid who uh, didn't really know much about roofing, he had never worked at another roofing company or anything,
right.
uh, walks into that and just regurgitates what he had learned in the boot camp. They're like, "Hey, you're awesome. This is who we want to work with. Hey, everybody, this is our guy now." And so uh, that guy has not in revenue, but in commissions, he's made over $600,000 this year,
Wow. That's
and uh,
big.
yeah, and working a normal like 40-hour work week. And and the company is really solid. Like they've got their production down, they've got their processes down, they've got great branding, whatever. He's got a lot of things that come to support that. But and he continued to build that network. But pretty much it was just here's they just continually feed him really good work. And I expect that he's probably going to do time and a half that next year. So I love seeing things like that. Obviously, that's kind of an outlier, but it's not that uncommon for people to double and triple what they were doing before, working fewer hours. Um,
That's the whole point, right? Like, they want a system that works better, that, um, can produce leads consistently throughout time, right? And, what I like is that you hold a boot camp and then you do, mock up little trial runs, and then you literally have them set up success right there in the boot camp. So opposed to what sometimes happens in boot camps where you're gonna learn and then you're gonna forget and then go out on the streets. Some people forget, some people don't.
yeah,
But the likelihood of putting that into practice absolutely immediately and not forgetting whenever you knock on that door to the client that you already had set up to a lead, a warm lead, and and it's just a different way. You immediately go into your mode of things and forget what you were doing before. So you're setting them up for success in the workshop, and and actually you're not doing it, they're doing it. You're showing them how to do it themselves. That I like. That is pretty awesome. You don't see that all the time, you know?
yeah. And really, when I started teaching, I first had like I had developed the process and I knew the process. So my first step was kind of I needed to figure out how to teach that process to somebody else so that
Right.
they would understand it. And then it really took a lot of time to figure out, all right, how do I make these horses drink. And you still can't make them drink, but you can shove their head pretty
Right.
darn close to the water. And so that has been a big thing for me, learning and growing as a trainer. Of like, if somebody buys my program and it's the best information in the world, it doesn't mean anything if it doesn't get put into action. And so I hold it as my responsibility to uh, facilitate that as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally, given a roadmap and then like, "Hey, listen, let's drive to the first destination on this roadmap real quick." And, uh, it sets up a client, your client, right, for, them to pay their own bill, basically, and that's
Yeah.
like it's like, "Okay, so we're gonna pay the bill for the system that we just purchased. Everybody take out their phone," right?
Yeah.
And that, I mean, and you're going to do that like 10, 15 times over, you know, especially because those relationships are a relationship that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Like, that's what everyone looks at the insurance. So like insurance agents, they look at agents like, well, they literally print money because they're selling a product that people have to buy every single month, every single year, what have you, every quarter, depends upon how you set up your insurance.
Yeah.
Um, so so taking that and putting it into our industry is very, very brilliant. I think that's pretty awesome. How do you stay up to date, right? Like, I feel like you're so busy. How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and developments in the roofing industry?
You know, like I said, I like to get out in the field with clients. You know, a lot of it just comes through my network. So the way that I do my training, I mentioned we have our online program or whatever. That takes a lot of the legwork off of my shoulders, so I'm not having to regurgitate the same type of thing. But with all my clients, we do unlimited live coaching too. So we can still jump on those Zoom calls, but now it's let's role play through this conversation. Let's work through this objection. Let's problem solve on this thing. And so you get to do that 5 times a day, 300 days a year with contractors in big markets, small markets, storm markets, retail markets. Um, I would say I get rapid fire situations to think through and to hear about, aside from going to conferences and all that sort of stuff where you get to see the new products and all that sort of stuff. I think being in touch with my network of clients is probably the biggest thing that keeps me on that edge.
How has technology played a role in your business and the success of restoration referral system?
There's there's some simple things that we do that allow us to have an edge on our competition, and that edge is always moving. So one of the things that I was doing when I was, from 5 years ago, is I would use an online calendar tool, and I
Mm,
would let my clients and my referral partners book time. If they said, "Hey, I want you to come out and do a roof inspection for me," they can book on my calendar Thursday at 3 o'clock. And simple things like that now the agent's not handing out my card and then that customer not doing anything with it. Those inefficiencies again are kind of what I target and what I go after. Some things like that, some automations that you can do, send them videos as that appointment's coming up so they become familiar with you. You can build your brand, you can start to build trust. Some of those things we're able to utilize technology. Ultimately, the business I'm in is a relationship business.
yeah,
So it you I've seen guys try to run marketing campaigns and ads and emails and LinkedIn messages and all this sort of stuff to insurance agents, and it just never works.
yeah.
It may, they may recognize your name. There may be some brand awareness type stuff that happens there, but it doesn't lead to them making this business decision and having this conversion into, now I've got to refer all my customers to Matt. I'm doing my customers an
Mhm.
injustice if I do anything else. And email's not going to do that. Maybe someday AI will walk into their office, and we'll have our program embedded into the AI or something. But for now, one of the things I tell agents when they say, "Yeah, go ahead and refer somebody over to me," you know what? I think who my customers choose is a really important decision.
Yeah.
Don't you agree? Yeah, of course it is. So I wouldn't feel comfortable making that referral of who my customers should use for their insurance unless I've had a chance to sit across the table from you, look you in the eyes, and get to know you.
Mm,
No, and that resonates with most reasonable people. Is like, they want that connection, and everything's so digital or whatever. So I would say, yes, we do utilize technology in some ways that helps us be efficient, but at the same time, that's kind of our edge, is that we are getting personal, we are getting toe to toe with these people, um, which is really what it takes.
It's super important. Could you elaborate a little bit more on the importance of building relationships, um, throughout this process?
In terms of restoration referral system or just
Yes, sir.
in the industry at large?
I'd say both. Both
Okay.
are really, really, really key.
So I would say, in my mind, the majority of the people that watch this show are roofing contractors, the owners, or the salespeople, or the managers. I would say it is critical to network with other people like yourself that are solving the same problems that you solve. So it doesn't have to be like a paid mastermind. It doesn't have to be like any of that sort of stuff. Like find a local group of people, and I know you kind of facilitate bringing some people together sometimes. Hey, you guys are like-minded. Maybe you're both in Houston, but there's whatever 9 million people in Houston, so
Right,
it's okay. We can still be friends.
right.
But also find some people that are removed. Maybe you're in Houston and you're going to network with somebody that's in San Antonio. You're both in Texas, so but you're not in the same markets, and you have those people to turn to. Um, I think that stuff is just so important. You mentioned earlier the working out and that sort of thing is really common among successful people. I think it's kind of chicken and egg, where the
Yeah,
people that you find are successful are people that are continually improving themselves.
yeah.
And so that's improving their knowledge and improving their skill set, improving their physical health. So I think it's kind of the those things tend to run together. But just be intentional about that. It doesn't have to be a paid program. There are some cool paid programs. I'd recommend. There's some that I wouldn't. But find a way that you can be among your peers, and be candid with them, and that's going to help you solve these problems instead of that problem sitting over your head and slowing down your organization for 6 months or 3 years. You can solve it in an afternoon a lot of times.
And have you ever had to, adapt or evolve your system at all?
I would say with COVID. So I started this a few months, probably 4 or 5 months before COVID hit. And everything locked down, and so um, I was used to scheduling meetings with insurance agents and walking in there and sitting with them across the table face to face. And now all of a sudden, all the clients that I've been teaching to do that couldn't do that, and so we had to really evolve it into doing Zoom meetings and that sort of thing, which we don't really do anymore. But it was still super effective at that time when that was our only option.
So, I'm gonna go off script here.
Cool.
So for me, um, a couple of things in the roofing industry have, gotten underneath my skin. How do you deal with haters, or I don't know if you have any, haters or the naysayers, right? In the day to day.
Yeah. I struggle with that sometimes. I would say for a long time I wasn't aware of any like haters. They're usually kind of lurking in the dark and talking crap behind your back type of thing. That's just the
Right.
nature of haters. Um, you know, uh, the way that I look at it, there's somewhere around 100,000 roofing companies in our country. And you figure every one of those has maybe an average of 5 people working there because there's a lot of one-man shows,
Right.
but there's also the 100 guy companies.
Right.
If I say there's 500,000 people in this industry, um, I really don't need to please many of them. I need to find my people. I need to find the people that align with me or whatever. To accomplish my goals. And the more people, I'm kind of weird as a like sort of sales trainer. Is that like if you get on a demo with me or a sales call with me or whatever, I'm going to go, hey, here's what we've got. What's your situation? Yeah, here's where it might be able to help you. And I don't like apply any pressure whatsoever. And the reason for that is I want people that are excited about it, that are going to do the work, that are aligned with me. If you're not, I don't want to like shoehorn you, pressure you into, oh, I'll sign up for this thing that I don't really believe in. And so what that does is now I've got 400 people that are like, this is awesome. And it's doubled my revenue and doubled my profits, and, or tripled my profits. And, and I want to go scream it from the rooftops and tell everybody about it. That creates so much momentum in my business by having people that are aligned with me instead of trying to work against the grain with people that don't work with me. I mean, there's people that you can talk to your blue in the face that um, just won't listen to any type of sense. So
Yeah, most
yeah,
definitely not your client, right? Your target audience either. Um, because like what you said, the chicken and the egg, right? Synonymous with that person that is successful also has, right? Um, so what what drove did you ever like work a W-2 job like ever?
yeah,
Okay, this is awesome. Okay, so this may be a weird question, but there are people out there that are watching this uh that need that mindset, right? That like they're craving to understand and know what other people are thinking and or doing, right? Because they themselves are stuck in a rut and they can't get out, stuck in a depression or what have you. I've been there. Uh, what kind of mindset do you employ to move from a W-2 position to owning a company or 1099, right? Or even uh, you know, just branching off from that normal thing that you're doing.
yeah.
What is that? What kind of mindset do you employ?
I would say I had the first several years of my adult life, I was, making garbage money. I was just doing the same thing every day. Those My brain was just turning into goo. I wasn't excited about it. And I would say the kind of philosophy that I have behind it is solve for X. So you have to figure out what is that engineered lifestyle that you want. And that may, there's going to be a financial component. How much money do I need to have that lifestyle that I want? Which doesn't have to necessarily be a lot. Don't worry about like that guy who has a Lambo who says that he's super happy. That may be what he wants. That may not be what I want.
Right,
Right. But what is that financial component? What is the work life balance? What is the experiences that I'm having while I'm working? What are those things look like? And it's easy to be stuck kind of with your blinders on, just like this is reality. This is all that there ever is. This is all that there ever could be. If you take a step back and you go, all right, you know what? I want to be making $1 million a year, and I want to work 30 hours a week, and I want to coach my kids' softball team. And while I'm working those 30 hours, I it really brings me a lot of joy to do XYZ. Right. And that may seem like outside this world if you're making 50 grand doing some mindless task.
right,
But if you go, okay, well, what do I need to do that? Well, I can make $1 million selling, 20 people something that's $50,000, right? Or, divide the numbers up, however it is. I can make, get a million to people to pay me $1. There's many different ways to figure out that financial component. But a lot of times you don't have the skill set, you don't have the network, you don't know how all the pieces fit together.
right,
And so you have to just kind of take a leap of faith and go, you know what? I know that I'm going to need this skill set. Let me go get that skill set. Or I know these people that have already accomplished this goal. Let me go spend some time around them. Let's go, associate with those people. So I know it's kind of a muddy answer. It's kind of all over the place, but the just designing what that outcome is for you, and then reverse engineering how am I going to get to that outcome, and know that it's going to take more work than what your math tells you. Uh, it's
Mhm.
going to take 2, 3 times as much work, take
Right.
2, 3 times as long. But if you are just, I'm going to show up at my, punch the clock and do my thing, and maybe go, grab some beers, and stuff my face, and rinse and repeat. You're going to wake up and you know uh, be
10
on your
years gonna be
deathbed,
fine.
and yeah,
Right.
10 years is going to flash
20.
by real quick.
Yep.
uh, as opposed to kind of waking yourself up and going, you know what, I'm going to go after it and get it, and I'm going to make this what I want it to be. And if your goal is just I want to sit on my butt all day long, uh, that's not a thing.
No, you could do
Unless
that
dad,
already.
what's that?
You could do that already.
You can do that already. Yeah, let the government take care of you or something. But that goal of, even if you create a successful company, you are going to change as a person, so that you need to keep creating, to keep moving, even if you don't need the money. Um, the person that you are, once you have that skill set, won't be able to sit there and just sit on your butt all day.
Mm. What's if you were the listener, what do you think would be the biggest takeaway from this podcast episode?
I would say the biggest takeaway. Um, this is something I got to meet with John Maxwell last year, I think it was.
Oh, cool.
Um, and yeah, it was Hunter Blue set up this whole thing. We got to go, it was like 20 of us, hanging out with John Maxwell for the day. And one of the things that is so simple but just blew my mind, and I think it kind of goes through a lot of the things that I do, is when you grow as a young person and are developing, you growth happens automatically. You're going to school every day, you're getting taller, whatever. You've got people cramming growth down your throat, whether you want to or not. And and I think you take that for granted. So when you get out of high school or get out of college, you just coast. And I went a decade without reading a book, right? And I just thought that somehow I was going to work harder, somehow I was going to go from struggling to succeeding, with me still being the same person, but the world bending to my will. And so what I found out was I had to be intentional about my growth. I had to, admit I don't know it all. I don't know much of anything. And I'm going to learn from every person that I get in contact with. I can go meet with somebody who's an absolute moron, and there is something I can learn from them. And
Mhm.
maybe even in the abstract, right? But that's why I surround myself with people like Matt Mulholland. I learn stuff all the time, right? But if you can continually grow, that is what is going to transform you and your input into the world to create a different result. So it's not going to happen automatically. You have to be intentional about that growth. But so long as you are there, the results will take care of themselves.
So what you're telling me is you can't do the same shit over and over again and expect something different to happen.
Yep.
I like it.
Bingo.
I vibe it. I vibe it. I love it. Matthew, thank you so much for coming on today. It was a pleasure. It was definitely eye opening, and being able to understand a little bit more about your system and just you about how you've done these things has been awesome. So I do appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, and look forward to. Am I going to see you at RoofCon here in a couple weeks?
I do not think that I'm going to be at
No.
RoofCon. I
All
may
right.
or may not. I'm trying, but I currently am launching Content Cartel Media, and so I'm just like you said, like you got to be very intentional with it, right? So I've just pretty much shaved off everything out of my life, minus like IRE. Um, but I'll try. I really want to get to RoofCon, and I really want to get to the Roofing Insights, the process conference from Dimitri.
Mhm.
Those two have been on my list for the last 2 years. And full disclosure, I stopped going to conferences. There was certain things that happened in the industry that I didn't like, and so I just refused to go to the normal conferences, like your trade show, expo floor type things. I'll go to, but um, I've pulled back. So I literally went to nothing other than IRE for like the last 2 years, 3 years,
Mhm.
2 years, excuse me. So to be intentional, I want to go. I need to sit down and try and see if I can't make that happen here in the next 2 days. Because if I don't make it happen in the next 2 days, it's not going to happen for me in 2 weeks.
I get it. Yeah, yeah. Well, either way, I'm sure I'll see you somewhere here
Of
in
course.
person, but I'll meet up with you in the Facebook comments otherwise.
Of course, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a live stream again, an amazing podcast where we have learned just about everything that you can learn on mindset and doing things differently. Um, Again, we are sponsored by Roofing Supply Incorporated here in the Houston marketplace, where you can get your shingles from me. Telephone number is 210-919-8987. Again, 210-919-8987. We are also sponsored by West Group Public Adjusters, where you can get an awesome hand-tailored claims experience. If you're trying to figure out how to get in contact with West Group, give me a call. Telephone number 210-919-8987. We are also sponsored by RevCard. It's down here. You get an awesome digital business card. It's kind of a CRM type deal. Guys, look for something that's different that'll set you aside. These digital business cards will definitely do it. Instead of throwing the card in the trash, clients are going to have something on their phone that they could see all the time and they can download right into their phone. So, pretty awesome thing. If you haven't gotten the Roof Dawn Stress Cube or any of the other merch that's coming out, give me a holler. Let's get you set up with an account here at Roofing Supply Incorporated. Again, it was an awesome live stream. Thank you guys so much.